In 2009, Michael Jackson passed away in his home at the age of 50. His death shocked the world and sent millions of fans into mourning. But not everyone was so saddened by the King of Pop's demise. In fact, there were quite a few people out there who felt that his death was well-deserved. These people claimed that Michael was a monster who got what he deserved. So why did these people hate Michael Jackson? And is there more to his story than we know? Well, today we're going to take a look behind the curtain and reveal the real story of how Michael Jackson became famous. We'll also uncover some shocking details about his life. That might make you wonder if he really was a monster, or just a troubled young man who was failed by the people that were supposed to protect him. So stay tuned until the end of this video to find out everything you never knew you needed to know about Michael Jackson. Before we get into it, be sure to hit that like button for more videos. Let's do it. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana. He was the seventh of 9 children born to Joseph Walter Jackson and Catherine Elizabeth Prince. His father worked as a steel mill laborer and a part-time musician, while his mother was a homemaker. Michael's early childhood was marked by poverty, violence, and an intense work ethic that was instilled in him by his father. Despite these hardships, Michael found solace in music and dance. He began performing at a very young age, often mimicking the moves of his favorite artists. By the time he was 5, it was clear that Michael had a special gift for entertaining. His family soon took notice, and his father, Joseph, formed a band called the Jackson 5, which featured Michael as the lead singer. The group began performing at local events and talent shows, and Michael's charisma and stage presence quickly made him a crowd favorite. The Jackson 5's big break came when they were discovered by a talent scout named Dick Clark. Impressed by Michael's vocal abilities and dance moves, Clark invited the band to appear on his television show, The $64,000 Question. Their performance caught the attention of millions of viewers, and the Jackson 5 soon found themselves in the spotlight. They released their first single, I Want You Back, in 1969, and it quickly became a hit. Over the next few years, the Jackson 5 released several more successful albums and singles, including ABC, I'll Be There, and Never Can Say Goodbye. Michael's fame grew with each new release, and he became a teen idol for millions of young girls. But behind the scenes, things were not as glamorous as they seemed. Michael's relationship with his father was strained due to his strict and often abusive discipline. Joseph was a notorious taskmaster who demanded perfection from his sons, both in their music and in their personal lives. He was known for using physical punishment to motivate them, and often subjected them to harsh verbal abuse. This created a toxic environment within the family that had a lasting impact on Michael and his siblings. Despite the challenges he faced at home, Michael continued to excel in his music career. In the mid-1970s, he began experimenting with a new sound that incorporated elements of funk, soul, and rock. This new direction was a departure from the Jackson 5's earlier hits, but it allowed Michael to showcase his vocal range and musical versatility. In 1979, he released his first solo album, Off the Wall, to critical acclaim. The album was a huge success, selling over 30 million copies worldwide, and producing hit singles like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. But Michael's personal life was still a mess. He was struggling to cope with the pressures of fame and the demands of his career. He began to isolate himself from his family and friends, throwing extravagant parties and surrounded himself with hangers-on. It was during this time that Michael developed a habit of sleeping in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. He believed that it would help alleviate his insomnia, but it actually exacerbated his sleep problems. This is also when Michael began taking increasing amounts of the painkiller Demerol, which led to a dependence on the drug. As Michael's personal life spiraled out of control, his music career continued to soar to new heights. In 1982, he released Thriller, which became the best-selling album of all time, selling over 66 million copies worldwide. The album featured iconic music videos for songs like Beat It and Thriller, which helped to cement Michael's status as the king of pop. However, the success of Thriller came at a cost. Michael's constant use of Demerol led to a breakdown in his health. He began to suffer from insomnia, anxiety, and other physical ailments that made it difficult for him to perform. But despite his deteriorating condition, Michael continued to work. He embarked on a world tour in 1984, which grossed over $100 million, making it the highest-grossing tour of its time. But the toll on his body was too great, and he eventually collapsed on stage during a performance in Bucharest, Romania. In the aftermath of his collapse, Michael's doctors warned him that he needed to cut back on his drug use or risk dying from an overdose. But Michael was unable to stop taking Demerol, and he continued to struggle with addiction for the rest of his life. While all this was going on, Michael's personal life was in shambles, and in 1984 he was accused of sexual abuse by a 13-year-old boy. The allegations were later settled out of court, and no charges were ever filed. But the scandal tarnished Michael's reputation and led to increased scrutiny of his personal life. Despite the controversy, Michael continued to release music and perform. In 1987, he released Bad, which became another massive success, selling over 30 million copies worldwide. The album's music videos were groundbreaking, featuring elaborate dance routines and cinematic special effects. But the success of Bad came at a cost. Michael's relationship with his fans had become increasingly strained. Many of his older fans felt that he had abandoned the pop sound that had made him famous and was now trying to appeal to a younger audience. In 1991, Michael released Dangerous, which featured a more mature sound and dealt with themes of love, sex, and danger. The album was another critical and commercial success, selling over 35 million copies worldwide. But the controversy surrounding Michael's personal life continued to grow. In 1993, he was accused of emasculation by a former bodyguard, who claimed that Michael had inappropriately touched him. The case was settled out of court and Michael issued a public apology. But the scandal led to a backlash from conservative groups who accused him of being a threat to society. Despite the controversy, Michael continued to tour and record music. In 1995, he released History, which was a double album that featured a mix of new material and greatest hits. The album was another massive success, selling over 20 million copies worldwide. But Michael's personal life was still a source of constant tabloid fodder. In 1999, he was accused of abusing his pet chimpanzee Bubbles. The allegations were based on reports from Michael's former employees, who claimed that they had witnessed him mistreating the animal. While no charges were ever filed, the scandal led to increased scrutiny of Michael's behavior. As Michael's personal life continued to unravel, his music career began to decline. In 2001, he released Invincible, which was a departure from his earlier hits. The album was not a commercial success and received mixed reviews from critics, but despite the setback, Michael continued to perform. He embarked on a world tour in 2006, which was plagued by poor reviews and low attendance. In 2009, Michael was preparing for a comeback tour when he died suddenly at his home in Los Angeles. The cause of death was determined to be acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication. An investigation into his death revealed that his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, had administered a fatal dose of the anesthetic propofol. Murray was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and Michael's estate was left to his 3 children. So was Michael Jackson a monster? Well, that's for you to decide. But one thing is for sure, he was a complex and troubled individual who struggled with addiction, mental illness, and the pressures of fame. The truth is that Michael Jackson was a victim of circumstance. He was born into a dysfunctional family and was exploited by his father from a young age. He was then subjected to years of media scrutiny and public ridicule, which led to his paranoia and isolation. Michael was a talented and gifted artist who made countless people happy with his music. But he was also a flawed human being who made mistakes and caused pain to others. The legacy of Michael Jackson is a complicated one, but one thing is certain, he will never be forgotten. Now it's time to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Michael Jackson? Do you think he was a monster or just a troubled artist? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.